Good evening and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly hangout where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. The standard disclaimer applies: the thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge or university statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. Tonight, as usual, we are soliciting questions and comments from you via Twitter at Mason Roundtable and or with the hashtag TMR episode 40. We made it to 40. Or on the Facebook event page. And as for introductions, my name is John Ruark, past master of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957, at George Mason University. And I'll hand it off to Jason Richards.
Thanks, John. It's good to be back. I was gone for the last 2 episodes, but I am back safely in the good old US of A. My name is Jason Richards, and I am the senior deacon of Acacia Lodge number 16 in Clifton, Virginia, and also a graduate of George Washington University.
Yay. All right, Robert Johnson.
Brother Robert Johnson, Worshipful Master, Waukegan Lodge 78, and host of Whence Came You Masonic Podcast.
Okay. Juan Sepulveda.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Juan Sepulveda. I am a member of Iola Lodge number 207 in Orlando, Florida, and the host of the Winding Stairs Freemasonry Podcast.
Excellent. And allow me the wonderful honor of introducing our special guest, who is the person of Scott Sherman, past master of the Boston University Lodge. Scott, any other introductions or titles that I missed?
Thank you, brothers. It's great to be with you. Yes, I had the very great fortune of being the first master of the rechartered Boston University Lodge, and I'm now serving as their marshal. And I'm also an officer of or involved with 3 other Masonic lodges in Massachusetts.
Excellent. All right, so we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's go to our normal scheduled topic, which is Masonic news. I think first and foremost, as was mentioned in the introduction, we have a new worshipful master among us, Robert Johnson.
Oh, yay.
So, congratulations, brother.
And there was much rejoicing.
Yay.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Anything you want to say about your installation? It was great to have that live streamed.
It was pretty wild. We had, I think, 3 viewers right when we started, and I totally forgot to stop the live stream and when the installation ended. So we went through a bunch of pictures and stuff before I went over there and stopped it. And even when I stopped it, we still had 8. It's been viewed over 80 times now, and I just thought, who in the world would want to watch this? But I just have to thank everybody who did watch and supported the installation. I've never experienced anything like that. It was beyond all expectation. I started to panic when we ran out of tables and food, and it was standing room only, and it's like never happened. And it was just really bizarre. We did a great job publicizing it and you guys sharing it, so just huge thanks.
And your boys were hilarious at the end while the tape was still running. So.
Oh, yeah. My youngest started like crawling down the stairs while I was getting obligated, and he's looking at me and he starts smiling and creeping off to the side. And I just look at him and I smile, and my niece is kind of singing through the whole thing. She's, just a year old. And, part of me, the professional side of you goes, oh, great, what am I doing? And then he takes over and he goes, we're family guys, and it's a family organization, and this stuff happens.
Exactly.
But it was really great, and I gotta thank everybody who has just been the tremendous support council from all the brothers, including you guys, man. You guys have been there for a lot, so thank you.
All right. Well,
You're worth every bit of it, RJ.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Awesome.
Hey, John, what's with the getup?
What's with what get up? This is what I usually wear. I don't know what you're talking about.
Where's that to work?
Yes.
He does. I can attest to that.
I just sit in the corner and just stroke my chin.
Actually, there's another one that's pink.
Real men wear pink. All right. So yes, this is our academic lodge episode, so you'll hear more about these colors soon. Nick, thank you for finally joining us and not slowing down our computers. Nick, introduce yourself, please.
Nick Johnson, past master Corinthian Lodge of Big Time Corinthian Lodge number 67.
Oh, I forgot the good old.
Good
Good old
old
Clifton, Virginia.
Better
What
late
happens when you
than
miss
never.
2 shows?
Well, welcome
Well,
back.
I thought you were only going to use it in Italian.
Ah,
Or you were.
Bueno suerte.
Buono vecchio.
Yanni Gavriu Italiano.
All right, so we do have some birthdays today. I know, Juan, you wanted to cover one.
Yes, we have brother Ryan Flynn. Happy birthday, brother. May the Lord continue to bless you with your talent and what you do for the fraternity.
Good.
And
Hey, we
one
also-
more. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Worshipful brother John Halter here in Orlando. Also, if you're watching, happy birthday,
Good. What was the name again?
John Halter.
All right. Congrats, John Halter.
Also, want to make sure that everybody remembers we are coming to a close on Veterans Day. So make sure that you go out and thank those men and women who are giving their lives in service to the country, because they do that so that we can continue to do what we do day in and day out here. And it's a wonderful thing, and it's a hard thing at the same time. So they deserve our support in more ways than just saying thanks once a year.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. And thank you for saying that. For those of you who don't know, my oldest child, my son, is currently serving in the U.S. Navy on an aircraft carrier in the Persian Gulf.
Well, thank him for us.
Will do.
Yeah.
Got a friend of mine, Brother Eugene Gross, one of our newest Master Masons. We're going to hopefully Skype him in to our stated meeting next Monday, and he's overseas about 15 hours ahead of us. So it should be a pretty interesting experience. So,
Mm-hmm.
cool.
And then the last birthday I wanted to mention was the birthday of my lodge. The Patriot Lodge was chartered on 11/11/11, and so we celebrated our third birthday. We were also 1 year under dispensation previous to that, but it's not on the charter. It's not official, right? So we definitely have come a long way in the 4 years that we've been around, but not without growing pains. But it's been a lot of fun. All right. The other Masonic news item I wanted to cover was the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Texas, according to sources such as Reddit. So who knows how reliable that is, and I'm sure Nick could fill us in.
Probably more than most, actually.
That's true. Has extended visitation recognition to the mainstream Grand Lodge of Texas. So according to some of the comments, but it was recognition without visitation, without anything else, and back in 2006, I believe. So really, it just basically said, we realize that we are two separate bodies, and that's about it. And so now, what usually happens with recognition is that both parties have to mutually agree. So either they both come at this together, and/or one extends and one, receives. So in this case, it appears to be that the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Texas has extended the fraternal visitation regards, and hopefully we'll hear some news back very shortly from the mainstream Grand Lodge of Texas. So there are a few states in the South that still need to have some better relations. So I think this is a step forward, and I gotta say I really respect the Prince Hall Grand Lodge in taking that first step, because it's almost a stalemate sometimes. Who's gonna be the better man and reach out first? And I'm glad that they did. So, any other comment on that?
Yeah, I saw on Fred Milliken. If you don't know him, he's the guy who writes the Beehive. I've known him for a number of years. He's a blogger from way back. So even before me. So, but he actually said that yes, he's a member of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Texas, and he said that yes, they did extend that visitation, essentially full recognition, and I think next month the Grand Lodge of Texas will be taking up a similar vote, and so hopefully this is a big domino in the recognition,
It's going to be
intervisitation, everything, because it's one of the largest Prince Hall regular Grand Lodges of what ours are. I'm not sure what the term is. Some use mainstream. I use George Washington, but that really doesn't explain anything. But it's one of those that they're like one of the largest. Both of them are the largest, so this would be a huge breakthrough and all that. So
Yeah, and it's something that I think desperately needs to happen. As you know, Masonry the numbers are declining. As John has pointed out on numerous episodes and numerous occasions. So the more unity we have, especially given the origins of Prince Hall Masonry, the better.
Good quote. That was put in one of the Reddit threads. It basically said if you look at the dates, Prince Hall Masonry may even be older than the Grand Lodge of Texas. So
yeah,
so they should be first in that sense.
That's a fair point. And I suppose some of you brothers might also know my good friend Paul Bessel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Oh, great.
Well,
Oh yeah.
I've known Paul since before he had Bessel.org and started putting that together. And so I know he has a map on Bessel.org, which is colored in with every time recognition's extended. And it's been glaring the states that have an extended mutual recognition. And I know he's going to be thrilled that this step hopefully will bring the rest in line. I don't know whether it will in our lifetimes or not. You've seen some of the things that have happened in the last few years in certain parts of the world.
You know what? We're an
In the United
organization.
States.
We're an organization that's supposed to be good men making themselves better. I've got all the hope in the world that we can continue to be amazing men.
absolutely.
Yes.
Well said. All right. Any other Masonic news anyone wishes to cover? Okay. Hearing none. The topic for tonight, according to my outfit, is Prince Hall Masonry. No, it is academic lodges. So, academic lodges, as alluded to in the Affinity Lodge episode, which was episode 19, I believe. So go back and check that out. We did spend a lot of time talking about that. But I thought it was worth kind of reinventing, one, because today is Patriot Lodge's birthday, and two, that we can get an opportunity to hear from someone else, namely Scott, on how the Boston University Lodge was rechartered and how they operate and some of the things that we were talking about in the green room. But I think first, before we do that, I'm going to put Jason on the spot, and he gave an excellent summary of the university scheme that was started in the United Grand Lodge of England, which has then been emulated here in the United States. So, Jason, why don't you give us a synopsis? I know you've got it all memorized, I'm sure, but basically, what's the university scheme, and then how does that translate?
Well, actually, I was planning to talk about it anyway, so you just kind of preempted it. It's, great minds. So the university scheme under the United Grand Lodge of England was an initiative that came about 9 years ago. It's either 9 or 14. I gave the presentation a while ago. And I'm jet lagged, so
Yeah.
yes, I could be making all this up. You'll never know. It was an initiative started by the Grand Lodge of England to recruit younger university-aged Masons into, or men into the fold of Masonry. People who are studious, who are academic, who are interested in philosophy, in esotericism, in symbolism and art, and all of the things that we as Masons hold very dear. So what they did was they started with the lodge at Oxford and the lodge in Cambridge, because there were two lodges there, and they said, okay, we're going to set up a scheme or a system whereby lodges who want to attract this kind of demographic to their leadership and are located within a reasonable amount of difference to an academic institution can have support at the United Grand Lodge of England level in recruiting younger men into the fold of Masonry. So there's a almost a checklist or a guideline that each lodge who wants to be a part of the university scheme goes through in order to have that support from the United Grand Lodge of England level. Now, the university scheme is not a system for creating new lodges. These are pre-existing lodges that decide, okay, we want to join this subsection of the United Grand Lodge of England, and basically it consists of, the guidelines consist of things like you must have a functioning website that provides updated information. You, in some cases, I believe, can cut the Grand Lodge dues by half, and it extends to just making sure that you meet on at times where students are able to meet because they don't have class at those particular times. So a lot of evening meetings, a lot of meetings on perhaps like Friday nights, like Patriot Lodge does. So it's just a way that the United Grand Lodge of England is helping lodges close to an academic center reach out and connect with the students at the university to bring more men who would be interested in this sort of thing anyway into the fold.
Mm-hmm. Great. And a quick recap from episode 19, the Affinity Lodges thing, where it basically said the academic lodge concept kind of got started here in the States, primarily with Harvard Lodge, and I'm sure someone will correct me with the dates, but there's probably been about a half dozen others since then that have gotten started with a very similar thing. Harvard Lodge started because it was a Masonic club that turned into an actual academic lodge. And so what is an academic lodge as opposed to a university scheme? An academic lodge is one that has a close relationship with the nearby university. So the university is fully aware that they're there, and they're not just kind of this little group that sits off campus and hopes to just kind of sneak people in. There's a relationship there. In Patriot Lodge's case, we have a relationship with the philosophy department, and we do scholarships for the philosophy department. We make sure everything is on the level, and everything that we do is in the best conduct to the university as well. And so we do, just as another quick recap, require membership to join. You either, to be a new member, you have to be a student, faculty, staff, or alumni of George Mason University, but any Master Mason can affiliate. So that way it covers the bases of exclusivity, or however my tongue decided to pronounce that. So that's what an academic lodge is in a nutshell. And unless there are any other questions on the foundation of it, I want to hear from Scott how Boston University got started, kind of fell away for a little bit, and has now been reinstituted.
Sure. One side point in constitutions is no Mason may affiliate with our academic lodges, which are the Harvard Lodge, Richard C. McLaren Lodge, which is the MIT Lodge, and Boston University Lodge, unless they are an alumni, faculty, staff, or student, and those last three categories having at least 6 months association. So that's one of the differences that we have. Though we tell everybody, please join us for meetings. You can still visit all you want. You can eat with us, break bread with us, come to the things we do socially. But as far as membership goes, we're limited by what our Grand Constitution says. As far as Boston University in particular, all three academic lodges started around the same time in the 1920s. BU Lodge started 1925, and they existed until 1999 when they... No, was it 1999? No, I'm getting ahead of myself. It was actually 1990. It's tough when you're getting old, fellas. But it was 99. I realized it was 99. August of 99, they turned in their charter. That was the year I was Grand Steward for the Grand Lodge. And, at that point, Masonry was really on the downswing in a lot of places. Around that time, the Grand Lodge voted to lower the joining age from 21 to 18. And that was on the urging of lodges that were otherwise in the state nearby colleges who wanted to pull on that kind of membership. Fast forward from 1999 to about 2011, and I came to the rechartering effort because there was a lodge in Quincy called Rural Lodge that had a weekly newsletter. And in that PDF, I saw a mention that Boston University Lodge was trying to put themselves back together. If you are affiliated in any way with Boston University, please help us. So being who I am, I wrote and said, how can I help? And I was invited to some organizational meetings. And really, the current master is Brother James Howard. And he and Worshipful Dick Silverman, who was a past master of the old lodge, got to know each other a few years ago, started talking and playing What If? Wouldn't it be wonderful? Then we started getting together, having organizational meetings with from 6 to a dozen of us or so. And that's basically how it started. And we had to figure out who the officers were. We talked with the Grand Master, we talked with the Grand Secretary, the idea of getting the charter back. One surprise for me was somewhere along the way when we started seriously talking about officers. To get your charter back, I should say that all we needed was signatures from 6 members of the old lodge. But because I have some background, I said we're not going to submit that petition to get our charter back until we've got all our ducks in a row. So we got to officers, and so James said, well, the first master has to be a past master. How many past masters do we have here? And I just put my hand up, and I looked around the room, and there was nobody else raising their hand. And I said, oh, thank you, brothers, but I live roughly 85 miles west of Boston, and I really wouldn't mind if you found somebody else. And I came back to the next meeting and said, well, how'd you do? And they said, you don't understand, we want you. And I've been doing this a long time, so I said, hold on a second. I called my wife and said, you won't believe what they really want me to do. And I figured my wife, who's been with me a long time, would have said, no, you can't do that. Instead, she surprised me and said, this sounds something that would be very exciting, and I think you'd really enjoy it, so why don't you go ahead and do it?
Wow.
And I can honestly say I felt most blessed in my life by this turn of events and being associated with this lodge. It's my 4th lodge, 3rd lodge I've presided over, and it's been just the most incredible experience. We spent a good year and a half, once I was master designate, making sure we had all our ducks in a row, deciding on our philosophies. We wanted to do great ritual. We wanted to teach our candidates more than the average candidate gets. We didn't want to push people through in 3 months. We wanted to let them go 6 or 9 months or a year if they wanted to, and fill their time otherwise with educational and social activities. We were able to be grandfathered, and we found a picture of the old BU Lodge where they wear academic robes. So while in all other, or almost all other Massachusetts lodges, officers wear tuxedos and white gloves, in our lodge, as you see from the picture that from my Facebook page, and it's on BU Lodge's Facebook page, and what's on for the show tonight, we wear suits with our aprons over the suit like normal, but then we put on our academic robe. Generally speaking, though, the day that picture that you'll see was in June, and it was about 120 degrees in the room.
Oh,
and so we left off the master's hoods, but we all typically put on the master's hood, then the collar of our office over the master's hood.
Nice.
Yeah. And
But Scott, sorry to interrupt you. Your microphone, I think, is rubbing against your cheek. So the sound comes through. If you can put a
little staticky.
Yeah, I just hear the rub.
Sorry about that. How's that now?
Oh, that's much better. Thank
okay,
you.
good. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah.
So but basically, is we were rechartered on June 25th, 2012, and at that time the room was 130 degrees. So all of our faces are glowing in all the pictures that you see. Beautiful rooms we have at Grand Lodge, but they're not air conditioned. And we meet at the Grand Lodge in Boston. We did hope to have some meetings at Boston University, but at the end of the day, not everybody's really happy with us at Boston University because we're a male-only organization.
Mm.
And when we put forth that, well, but BU supports male-only college fraternities,
Right.
they don't seem to really find that persuasive. So what we were looking at was they wanted to treat us like an outside vendor and charge us $1,000 a night to meet there.
Ooh.
We're at Grand Lodge for appreciably less, and it's only a couple of T stops on our public transportation from BU to our Grand Lodge building.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been going very well. The last first degree, we had 6 candidates, and 2 were taking their. It's a very international university, so we're a very international lodge. 2 were taking their obligations on a Bible, 2 on the Tanakh or Jewish Bible, and 2 on a Quran. We've since had Hindu, I should say, members who take their obligations on a Bhagavad Gita. When we started, my senior warden was from Lebanon, my junior warden was from Israel, one of my officers was from Korea, another one from Cuba, and again, it just goes on. That's been one of the most fascinating parts about this experience of finding men who have the common sense place of being all from the same university. We're all Masons, but we all come from different backgrounds and cultures, and that's been part of the fun of this, really, as we get to know, like, and really learn to trust and love each other.
Yeah, I bet. So, Juan, Nick, Robert, even Jason, but Jason doesn't count. He's a member of Patriot. Any questions you have?
Actually, yeah, I do. I've been kind of noodling this since we started talking about this topic, but it was kind of interesting, the idea. Like, we had a lodge here, University Lodge 316. It later merged with Zarthan Lodge to become Unizar. But I was thinking about, that one met on the university campus, and then it bought its own building. And I've been wondering about the idea of having a lodge on a university campus. But then I was remembering that, there is this idea that if you have a club on campus, they have to be open to everybody, regardless of who they are, regardless of what they are, it doesn't matter, it's like, and so I was kind of thinking, that how do you guys in academic lodges deal with having a relationship with the college, but obviously not being able to necessarily meet on campus or call yourself a Masonic club on campus or anything like that?
Right. That's a great question. So one thing we have going for us is several of our officers and members are employees of the university. And so in our early meetings, we were meeting on campus in the Alumni Affairs office and such. So we have good relationship with them. So what do? We put flyers all over the place. We've sponsored blood drives on campus, Masonic child ID programs, or MyChip. We recently, as part of Alumni Reunion Weekend, we sponsored a talk by a history professor named William Moore, who spoke on fraternalism and American culture from Freemasonry to Rotary. And it was a fascinating talk, and we're sponsoring a series of talks like that on the BU campus as part of it.
Right, and so for Patriot Lodge, what we initially did was we were able to rent space at an on-campus hotel, actually. So we rented out the ballrooms at a hotel. It wasn't cheap, but we didn't have a building to maintain either, so it was about a wash. And we were a traveling lodge. I mean, we really just packed up everything into a couple suitcases, set up, and then as soon as lodge was over, break down and throw it back in the car. But unfortunately, that hotel has since shut down and been converted into student housing, so we are homeless at the end of this calendar year. So we had a couple options to look at, such as being a student group, which required a certain number of current students as well as an alumni to run it. So I think we meet that quota, which gives us access to getting into rooms in the community center and that kind of stuff on campus. But to your point, we do have some of those restrictions that we have to think about, specifically regarding gender and that kind of stuff. Surprisingly, the student group paperwork seems to be in order. it's really when we were trying to look at setting up a scholarship, that was a challenge because that, we can't just flat outright say, no women, for example. And that was like a non-negotiable fact. So, which is fine for a scholarship. That's really, we're not trying to be too exclusive on that, but we just want to get our name out there as a educational institution.
So phase 2 of our plan, we've been talking about that same subject, is with our younger students, the freshmen and sophomores, finding some group of them who might be willing to start a student club on campus, realizing also it couldn't be exclusively male, but it could be used for social events. It could be used as ways to meet new people that we could invite to, come look at our lodge and things like that.
Future Eastern Stars.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, or Amaranth, and that's a possibility too. We also, I should mention, this month, Boston University men's hockey is playing Harvard University. So both of our lodges are heavily supporting that event, and when we're there, we've been promised that our names are going to be put up in light for everybody in the stadium to see.
Nice. Any other questions?
Well, Colonial Lodge number 1821, excuse me, for GW is actually in a similar position as Patriot, in the sense where it's not able to meet on campus, after this year, or rather that was Patriot's issue, but GW hasn't been able to meet on campus, so they started off meeting in Georgetown at one of their Masonic temples, and now they're actually just at the House of the Temple. So I feel really bad for those guys having all of their lodge meetings in the House of the Temple in GW or in DC.
It was
That's
part
like
of the
when I
original
was.
plan.
Yeah, one of my titles when I was down in that area was I was the Associate Bethel Guardian of Bethel number 22, Job's Daughters, who meets at the George Washington Masonic National Memorial. And
dear.
We were in there. I was there, weekly practically during the 5 years I was down in that part of the woods.
It's such a hardship.
It really was. Yeah.
Nice.
Brother Scott, I was curious, in previous conversations about academic lodges, John had mentioned that there is an issue with having enough people for the officers because some people, being that the academic course is usually 2 to 4 years, they wouldn't run through all different stages of the officers. Do you have the same issue in BU?
Absolutely. We've had that experience with brothers who start out as officers and then get transferred someplace else. If they're undergraduates, we expect they'll be leaving after a while. We had somebody who was really excited about becoming an officer and then got a great opportunity to be an intern in Washington, D.C. for somebody, and we wished him well and look forward to seeing him. We'll always find that, but as long as you have a balance between students, and students for us also as graduate students, as well as faculty and staff, then I think you're able to balance it out well.
Well, I have another question too. Is I went to a small liberal arts college in middle nowhere, Minnesota, and there was no Greek life. But to be honest, I don't think I would have ever participated in it at all. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking about it, probably because lambda wasn't there. So because it wasn't there, but I was thinking, like, what does a academic lodge offer to someone versus a fraternity? What do you get from an academic lodge that you don't get from a fraternity?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I am a member of the Zeta Psi fraternity at the University of Massachusetts. Zeta Psi was actually founded by a Mason in 1847 at NYU, and that brother, I've done research, died of consumption when he was only 35 years old, but he was also at 35 years old the Deputy Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of New York.
Wow.
When I was working with the International, found a lot of information. So a lot of college fraternities have rituals that are similar to Masonry, but what a college fraternity is about is very different than what a Masonic lodge is about. What it's, that's about learning brotherhood, learning how to work together, doing projects, doing service projects, preparing for your future, doing networking, things like that. Masonry is and has always been about taking good men and through our lessons and associations and experiences helping them to be better men. So that's how I see the difference.
As far as the academic lodge context is concerned, you have a lot of unique opportunities in academic lodges to do a lot of in-depth research into Masonry, and come for something that's not just your standard lodge educational program. I've been in a lot of lodges where their educational program is just something interesting, but at the same time it's not very research focused. It's not very academic. But especially in the Patriot Lodge, especially during John's year, we had a lot of top-notch programs that made you think, and required you to pay really close attention. S. Brent Morris coming in and talking about code making and magic and how those all work together. Things like that are just so neat when given an academic context, and that's not something you typically get in a fraternity. I was in a men's fraternity in college, Phi Mu Alpha Symphonia. It's a men's music fraternity, but we were charged with advancing music in America. Well, you don't need to have a doctorate to do that. I think under the academic lodge context, you have more of an opportunity to dive really deep into Masonic scholarship that you might not have in another lodge somewhere else that's not affiliated with an academic institution.
I wanted to build off of what Scott said earlier too. The similarities between Patriot and BU or Lodge are quite common. That we have, we try to have a higher standard of educational programs, as Jason suggested. We also try to not rush the candidates. Again, knowing that they're only going to be with us a short period of time, let's make sure it's quality, not quantity. Sometimes that hurts us, but I think overall, the feedback I've got from the guys going through has been overly positive.
So as I put that, by the way, my intention and what I shared with the guys and we all agreed to is we want to give our candidates such a wonderful grounding in Masonry that no matter where they may end up in their lives, they will engage locally with the Masonry they find. And something else I've learned along the way is the true secret of Masonry, cover yours if you don't want to hear it, but it's that it's experiential. And the types of good experiences you have is really the difference why some people get really active and some people don't get active at all. So, we've been doing a lot of those kinds of things as well.
Did you get any pushback about restricting membership?
No, because our Grand Constitutions covers it. No, because we were rechartering. No, because we
didn't have to worry about it. It was already done by people who were already passed. Right?
Essentially, these three lodges have all been there since the 1920s. One of the things that I should mention, though, one of the great things is for most of our existence, we've had what we call an academic convocation. It's an annual get-together of the three lodges where we can share degree work, we can have a table lodge, we can do speakers, we can do all kinds of things. Last year, we raised it up quite a bit. So we opened the invitation up, and we not only had from our three academic lodges, George Mason University sent a group of people, Apollo Lodge at Oxford, England sent a group over. We had all kinds of speakers. It was just a wonderful occasion. We're going to try to do that again next April. When you talk about experiences, we had a candidate who was coming through our lodge, and his father was taking degrees in a lodge in Pennsylvania. they heard about his son also taking his degrees, and they got the father his third degree 24 hours before our candidate was being raised. They then, right after lodge closed, 60 of them got on a bus and came up to our lodge and were there with us for the son's raising the next night.
Awesome.
We've had visitors from Russia, from Greece, from the Czech Republic, from Spain, from South America. We had a visitor from the Grand Orient of France, which is not regular nor recognized, but we invited him to come to dinner with us, and we had a wonderful talk. So,
You know, Scott, you brought up a really neat point I wanted to return to, if I could, about the foundational aspect of academic lodges in trying to build Masons up under a good foundation as a springboard for wherever they may end up. And I think that's another fundamental difference about academic lodges. There is no assumption that the Masons you raise in that lodge are going to stay in that lodge. And I think that's something that's really, really important as a differentiating aspect between academic and non-academic lodges. And it's something that that makes the process and the experience of trying to run an academic lodge, you know, that much more difficult, I think, because you don't generally have those, you know, 30 and 40-year members who are still in the area as the norm. They're kind of the exception, and there are always a couple, but the vast majority of the people you bring in are going to be there for 2, 3, 4 years, and then they're going to leave and go somewhere else. Which is why I think the whole experiential aspect of Masonry is crucial when it comes to an academic lodge context.
Robert, I think you were going to ask something earlier.
No, you know, I was just kind of thinking about how the dynamic of your lodges work with the academic lodges. You know, Jason brought up the point that you're losing guys potentially after 4 or 5 years.
2 or 3 even.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, and the popularity of these, when they're getting the best ritual work they can get. They're getting engaged with the educational programs, and I almost just I'm also the education officer for my district, so I look at these kind of things sometimes, and I think about taking the success. If every lodge took the success or the tenets that an academic lodge is using and implemented those educational programs in their own lodges, the possible engagement level with men who are moving away, who live in the area, might actually, I mean, the engagement level might actually increase. I was just kind of thinking about that a little bit.
No, it's an interesting point, but there's a difference too. Where I live in Western Massachusetts, it's much more rural, and I'm secretary of a lodge locally, and we have a district, what we call a lodge of instruction, and I'm one of the teachers there of candidates. When I'm in Eastern Massachusetts at BU Lodge in our district there, we get, and I have candidates from the 3 academic lodges, and we can go really deep into subjects.
Sure, yeah.
A lot of times I can just touch on the surface of subjects with most of the people I meet locally, and I go any deeper and I get glassy-eyed stares.
Yeah, and so
one of the challenges, honestly, and one of the reasons, because I am an intellectual, I'll admit it, and so I enjoy being with similar people. I love Masons all over the world, but I enjoy that experience most of all because for it, and that's really a wonderful thing to see.
you've got guys like one of the writers who was on the Midnight Freemasons, James Fry. He's given a few really, really, really deep presentations on, you know, maybe York Rite Masonry and the esoteric nature of some of those things. We're talking about guys sleeping.
Yeah.
Falling asleep, you know,
Yeah.
and 5% of the guys are sitting there just staring and in awe of it, and everybody else leaves, and those guys in the library after lodge meeting we're still going over the stuff. So I do get what you mean, for sure.
All right. Well, let's start wrapping up for tonight.
Oh, just before we do, there was a question on the page about what's the difference between an academic lodge and a research lodge.
Okay.
And I'd like to, I don't know about it everywhere, but I'm also an officer of the Massachusetts Lodge of Research. And the big difference I see is the Lodge of Research here is warranted. And we're about doing research, being venues for research and things like that. We can't initiate, pass, or raise candidates. The academic lodges are all chartered lodges, which are empowered to enter, pass, and raise candidates and do everything a regular lodge does. They just have some more opportunities and some restrictions that all of the lodges don't have.
That's very similar here in Virginia as well. Yep. Great. Thanks for that catch.
You're welcome.
All right, let's start doing final thoughts and shameless plugs. So let's start with Dick Johnson.
Okay. Well, let's see. I've been doing some research because there was an academic lodge, University Lodge 316. It's no longer with us, and it's been merged. But personally, I'd love to see it. I mean, the University of Minnesota is one of the largest universities in the country, and not just the what some call the main campus, even though I don't think they have a campus in the state of Maine, but the large campus could be a huge source of interested young men that could be interested in that. So that's just my plug for that kind of thing. So if anybody in my state is thinking about it, you can call me later. You know where I live. I hope not, but just kidding.
In big time Farmington.
Yeah,
I'll
big time
post it.
Farmington.
I'll post it on Reddit. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But for me, I think academic lodges make a lot of sense. I think affinity lodges make sense in a way that it creates a bond that transcends anything else. It's something that you start with as a position, and then you can move on from there. So I would love that. I mean, when I was in college, it was kind of funny. I kept walking by a lodge building, and I had no idea that it was there. And it had this giant upside down star in it, right? I didn't know anything about OES. So you're looking at it and you're like, what do they do there? This is awesome. They must do some kind of weird esoteric stuff. Well, later I find out it's OES, so I'm just assuming there's esoteric stuff there.
So it's all true.
But I think it's a great idea, and I applaud anybody who wants to put forward an academic lodge. You can find my blog at millennialfreemason.com. You can also find me on reddit.com/r/freemasonry or /r/York Rite or /r/Scottish Rite, even though I'm not in the Scottish Rite. And so don't ask me. People think I'm a good mod. I'm not very good at it, but I'm there. So come on out and have some fun. Thanks.
All right. Newly installed Worshipful Master, Robert Johnson.
Oh, geez. Just huge thanks to Scott for coming out tonight and giving us the lowdown on the academic lodges. It was really cool to hear some of the, not a whole lot of differences, but it was neat to hear, if anything, like how you guys started it back up and everything. Just a fantastic story. I know I've talked to John. We've all talked to John about how Patriot started. And it's like, as Masons, we want to be everywhere and get involved in everything. Like Scott, you said you were in the Lodge of Research. You're in 3 or 4 lodges. You've been the master of 3. We tend to get so involved in everything. And it's like right now, I just want to call up the local college and ask them, how do I start a lodge over there? How can I get this going? But I think if anybody's watching, you guys would be amazing resources for people to ask questions to, and maybe get some answers about how they could start an academic lodge. I think that would just be fantastic. Anything that furthers the education, Masonic or otherwise. So thanks for watching, and you can find me every Sunday night at 9:30, I think is when I release episodes. Whence came you? WCYpodcast.com. And again, thanks for everybody who came out and showed support for our installation of officers.
Great. Thanks. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
All right. Juan.
All right, brothers. First of all, thank you, Brother Scott, for joining us tonight, and also for always participating in our conversations and in the social networks everywhere. So we thank you for that because, brothers like you help us that are starting, basically starting in the fraternity, avoid some obstacles, and we feed from your wisdom. So we thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Now, secondly, I wanted to thank all the brothers that have been participating in the social networks, that find us on Facebook, on Twitter, but mainly those who are participating in the Sparklight campaign. If you haven't heard about it yet, we want to make sure that you share with your brothers and the people that follow the Masonic Roundtable. What's your favorite book? What is your favorite Masonic book? And if you have been paying attention to our page, our bookmark has made it around the world.
At least partially. At least partially.
It's it's gone halfway and back on the same side of the of the planet. But
it's been to the Vatican. It's been to the Vatican and back.
Imagine, from the quarry to the temple. Branding.
Boom.
But if you want to have one of these bookmarks to participate, make sure to go to the MasonicRoundtable.com and help us keep the show alive and moving forward just by a donation. Any amount that helps, that you can, will help us. But take a picture on your favorite Masonic book or in the most awesome place you visit. Take a picture with it and mark it on the social network post with the hashtag Sparklight. And we will be later on selecting from the people that participate in this campaign, and we will be sending them one of our favorite Masonic books, so you don't want to miss out on that.
Yep.
Lastly, I want to thank the brothers that are using the promo code TMR by visiting freemasonryart.com. That is the website where I sell my Masonic art and custom-made hand-painted aprons. We've had some brothers making donations by using promo code TMR at checkout on freemasonryart.com. So thank you for the brothers that have done that. And finally, you can find my podcast on thewindingstairs.com, and I encourage you to listen to the latest episode, The Ghost of the Hotel, all the way to the end.
Yes.
That's it.
Great. Also a great podcast. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Jason Richards.
All right. Thanks, John. It's great to be back on the show. Thank you all so much to everybody who's still listening to us and watching us week in and week out. We're doing this first and foremost, because we love it. We get so much out of it, but we're doing it, in a very close second, because Masonic dialogue is something that is absolutely crucial, and we're interested in talking about what you guys want to talk about. So keep sending us ideas. Keep sending us, what you want to hear more about, what you want to learn more about, and we will keep doing these shows as long as we possibly can. As far as academic lodges are concerned, I'm reminded of the idea that as Masons we're all the same, but we're all different. Each Masonic journey is a very, very personal experience. So having a diverse set of lodges with diverse purposes can only help expand the Masonic experience for plenty of other people. So check out academic lodges, check out Affinity Lodges. If you're interested in something, try to bring Masonry into that, or try to bring that into Masonry with whatever you do. So I've got a blog. It's over here. It's the 2-foot ruler, Masonry in plain language. Oh, is it over here?
Oh, it's the other way.
Yeah,
it's
right
the other way.
first time.
The
Okay.
podcast listeners won't be able to tell.
That's okay. The 2-foot ruler, Masonry in plain language. It's my attempt to break down the complexities of Masonry into easily digestible, easily understandable terms. I've got a lot of great content on there. Make sure you check it out. I'm also a writer for the Midnight Freemasons blog, And RJ, I promise you've got more than one article coming this week or next week. So I owe you a good bit of writing. So yeah, check that out. TheMidnightFreemasons.org.
Okay.
With that, I'll give it back to you, John.
All right. And last but not least, long-time listener, first-time caller, worshipful Scott Sherman.
Thank you very much. Thank you, brothers. It has been a wonderful experience, as I suspected it would from having watched all your episodes up till now. Both Boston University Lodge would welcome questions. We have a website, Facebook presence, Twitter, all that, at bulodge.org. You can find that. You can reach me easily on Facebook. I'm very visible all over the place, and I enjoy hearing from people all over. Sometime I can tell you fellas some other stories. I don't want to leave the point that I'm crazier than most Masons, but I was master the first time in 1986.
Wow.
I was 28. And so if I'm still going to be
It's
active...
okay, we were all alive then.
Yeah, no, that's good. My point is, if I'm still going to be engaged, I'm still going to be active, I'm still going to be doing things. And so it's fun. It really is a lot of fun, and that's the bottom line, I think. Plus, I have a very supportive family, and that's very, very important, too.
Hugely, yeah.
So thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you've heard enough from me in previous episodes, including this one, so I'll be brief. Thanks for your support of the show. Keep listening. Share it with your friends. I personally want to extend a thank you for those who have reached out through a private message on the Facebook page or a private message to me personally over Google Plus or Facebook, just to say, hey, thanks for the show and any great ideas you guys get. So I love hearing from guys around the world. So please continue to do so. I know other guys have received similar notifications. So that's what keeps me going. I love doing this and love talking to you guys. So with that, try to find or start, as Robert said, an academic lodge if it suits you. If you have any questions, let Scott or myself know. Thank you for watching. Keep searching for more light. Have a good night.